Well, it's great to be here and part of this wonderful function, so to speak. Can everyone hear me all right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm John Stauffer, and I'm here with Mike Slotsnick, representing the America team for displaced Eritreans. I've put a handout on most of the seats. Hopefully you have one. Please refer to that because it covers the America team's operations and objectives. So I'm going to walk you through it, so having it in front of you will be helpful. We also have another piece which lays out some details in terms of politics and immigration policy in the United States as it presently stands, and how it impacts Eritrean refugees and asylum seekers. This particular piece is not for publication, but you're welcome to take a copy for your own use. There's some up here that help yourself. I think Mike may have some more. Okay. Now, what we do, or at least the combination of things that we do at the America team, is probably a little different from what most of you do. We're not scholars or writers or analysts. Rather, almost all of our work is hands-on advocacy work at both a policy level and an individual case level, trying to save lives where we can. We're all volunteer and do humanitarian work on behalf of Eritrean refugees and asylum seekers around the world where need arises and where our small organization can help. We started with political activism in 2003 and moved completely to humanitarian work, including human rights advocacy, in 2010. The origin of this interest in Eritrea began in 1966 when I started as a U.S. Peace Corps teacher in southern Eritrea. I'll briefly cover now the types of activities we do following the handout. I'm referring now to part 1 under what we do. Eritreans make their way to the southern United States border in order to present themselves to border authorities and ask for asylum. Hundreds have done this, and once they enter the asylum process, they need help. Most of them have little or no money, don't speak English, they have no lawyer or can't pay for one, have no friend or family members in the United States. The paper lists things that we do to help with individual cases. I'll speak shortly about how this has become a crisis situation for some of the asylum seekers in the United States. Next, with number 2, as you know, Eritreans make it to various other places around the world as they seek relief from the oppression in their own country. We receive calls or emails about refugees needing emergency help, especially in North Africa, Eastern Europe, and the Middle East. We do our best to connect them with local sources of assistance or occasionally provide help directly. Number 3, we assist with refugees resettled to the United States, particularly in Pennsylvania, though issues do arise in other states where we help out in one way or another. Per number 4, we seek to raise awareness about the Eritrea situation and the plight of the refugees. In addition to our website, which has history, background, and reference items on current country conditions, we interface with U.S. congressional offices, the State Department, UNHCR, IOM, and various NGOs and journalists. We've helped produce a video documentary on the refugee and human rights crisis. There are probably a few copies left on the table just outside the door. Help yourself. There's both a DVD and a Blu-ray disc in the packet. We have worked with various NGOs and governmental and intergovernmental offices in providing and receiving information and insights. We watch for illegal regime activity in the United States and report it to authorities. Number 7, Through our engagement with asylum seekers and their lawyers, we monitor the U.S. adjudication and detention procedures and raise awareness when it would be helpful. Per number 8, we advocate at a policy level relative to both refugees, asylum seekers, and Eritrean human rights, including through private governmental meetings, public sign-on letters, and public congressional testimony. Now let me take a moment here to comment on how we are able to maintain our contacts and constructive dialogue with these various organizations and offices, particularly in sometimes dealing with and sharing sensitive information. First, one aspect is that we must maintain and exhibit professionalism throughout our relationships. In all things, we strive to ensure that our NGO and governmental partners, as well as the individuals we help, place in us the highest level of trust relative to our factual accuracy, our reliability, discretion, and confidentiality. Our adherence to this and our related reputation, along with our knowledge of the Eritrea situation, has been an essential part in being successful in the overall endeavor. Secondly, we always seek to build long-term relationships with all of our partners, consultees, and clients. And so we undertake to be realistic and respectful of our requests for assistance from any of the actors, NGOs, government and intergovernmental offices, and individuals. We must always be mindful of their own needs, expectations, resources, and limitations, with an eye to building and maintaining a long-term relationship. And thirdly, on-the-ground contact with clients and partners alike is important. We have visited refugees in Ethiopia and in Italy, asylum seekers in U.S. detention facilities, and have frequent phone contact with refugees and asylum seekers in various countries as needs arise. We visit Washington, D.C. about once a month and opt for face-to-face meetings whenever and wherever possible and feasible. Okay, back to the paper. Part B. The U.S., this is the current critical matters. The U.S. Immigration Office is striving to force Eritreans who have been denied asylum to return to Eritrea, where they will very likely suffer torture and imprisonment or worse. We are fighting this through various avenues. Some removals seem inevitable, but we are seeking intensively to limit them. The security and humanitarian situation in Libya has been going from very bad to much worse as civil strife increases there. Asylum seekers bound for Europe have been returned to Libya and kept in detention under horrible conditions facilitated by the EU in order to keep them from trying to get to Europe again. We have been intensively seeking to provide security for them. More resettlement slots in Western countries are needed for them. And we just today learned that the last of about 365 detainees were moved to safety beginning yesterday. The civil war is impacting these detention centers. Okay, the rapprochement with Ethiopia has been misinterpreted by some as including improvement of human rights in Eritrea. This has resulted in denials of protection against deportation in some U.S. immigration courts. We have been providing data to asylum lawyers that refutes this and have included this in our private governmental advocacy. Finally, looking at Section C in the paper, it is extremely important for our work to have a clear and current picture of human rights as to all Eritrean citizens, including refugees and in Eritrea itself. We would like to expressly ask this group here today to share with us and ask their colleagues to share with us on an ongoing basis late-breaking human rights developments, particularly within Eritrea and elsewhere around the world. That information can help us materially both in our policy advocacy and in individual asylum claims. Martin and other journalists do a wonderful job in gathering and publicizing information, but there may be additional information that may pertain to individual dangers and injuries in various countries that we can treat confidentially as appropriate to help save others' lives. This information can be sent to me at my email, john@eritreanrefugees.org. The America team includes both people born in America, like myself, and Eritrean Americans. We also seek to work even more broadly with members of the Eritrean diaspora. In particular, one, we have regularly partnered with leading diaspora activists in information sharing. Two, we have initiated organizational sign-on letters and have signed other letters as well. We have disseminated congressional action alerts through diaspora media. We welcome participation of others, especially in the United States, in operations such as interpreting and translating for asylum cases, resettlement assistance, data gathering, and about 9 items in all, which we have listed in Topic C on the paper that you have. 5, we have given 1 congressional advocacy training for U.S. residents at an oppositional conference, and we have offered more. And that offer still stands. In that regard, there are some major opportunities in the new Democratic majority House of Representatives in the United States, 3 of those members visited Asmara in early March, and with whose staff we met shortly after that. So, as time permits, I or Mike can answer any questions that you have, take suggestions, and so on. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, John.